Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports on this beautiful Thursday morning, the 22nd day of October. And game two is now in the books. And when I spoke to you on Tuesday, I predicted that after the first two games that the series would be tied 1-1. Where I was wrong is who won each game because I had it flipped over. I had Glasnow winning game one and the Dodgers winning game two. I blew that one. Game three will be tomorrow night. Off day today. Lenny talked about how few innings the Dodger pitchers went last night, and it's so true. And what about Mr. Brandon Lau breaking out? Yeah, breaking out of that 6 for 56 slump he was in a major way. Leading off the first inning, in the first inning last night he homers, then he hits another homer later in the game, and the Rays were staked to that 5-0 lead. The Dodgers come back. 3 home runs of their own later in the game, but it wasn't enough. The Rays win 6-4 to force a tie now in the Fall Classic 1-1. Again, Thursday night will be our next game, and it's going to be a good one. You got Charlie Morton and you got Walker Buehler, and that game's at 8:08. So far in the postseason, Buehler has an ERA of 1.89. Not better than Morton. His ERA this postseason, 0.57. He is 3-0. You think that's going to be a pitching duel, but we know how baseball goes. You just never know, and it would not surprise for the Dodgers and Rays to both open up a can. Last night for LA, hitting-wise, Taylor homered in the 5th. It broke up a no-hitter. Will Smith homered in the 6th. Seager homered in the 8th. Just wasn't enough. The Dodgers can only muster 4 runs on 5 hits. The Rays, on the other hand, they went 10 hits, 6 runs. Leading the way, of course, was Brandon Lau. Margot went 2 for 3. He's having a great postseason, hitting .429 this postseason. Joey Wendell drove in 3 with a double off May. May's not pitched well at all. And so Lenny was talking about Arizarena, who went 1 for 3 last night. He's hitting 167 in the World Series. We know the absolute terror Arizarena was in the playoffs. Lenny mentioned on the 9 o'clock show, and I want to raise this again, what does it do to his value? And I'm going to say in 2 ways. What does it do to his value in next year's draft? And my baseball cards I showed you the other day, what's it do to the value of those? Well, the thing is, we're still early in the series, and Arizarena has shown in the earlier series that, well, good morning, Nicole. It's great to see you this morning. Arizarena has mentioned in the earlier series, his ability to be disciplined, to lay off the balls in the dirt, to really attack those fastballs in the zone. And that's what I'm expecting out of Arizarena as we go forward. Maybe not against Buehler. The thing is, the Rays have faced some pretty good pitching, but let's face it, Yankees, I know they have Garrett Cole. I know the Astros had good pitchers, but overall, the depth and the quality of the staff is much better. Hence, that's why the Dodgers are in the World Series. Arizona's seen better pitching overall than he has seen in any series so far. So we will see how he reacts to Walker Buehler tomorrow night and over the weekend. I predict he's going to make a comeback. He's been too good, too hot. I just don't think he's going to cool off. The discipline is still there. What he's got to do is be careful not to be pushy, not to try to force something. Wait for his pitch. We'll see how it goes. So we will pick up on that. Any questions you've got, send them in. We're going to talk a little football this morning. In fact, we're going to talk a lot of football this morning. Lenny covers the baseball really well. And with a day off in the World Series, I thought, well, let's prepare for some football discussion. How about that? So let's start. There's a game tonight. The Giants and the Eagles playing tonight, Thursday night football. And I personally like the Eagles in this one. I think Carson Wentz will be a big difference. And here's a line for you. I don't know if you guys are following. I play fantasy football. But this wide receiver the Eagles have named Travis Fulgham. Fulgham, when he is playing, and when Wentz is throwing the ball to Fulgham, I'll talk about Ertz in a moment. When he is throwing the ball to Fulgham, his quarterback rating is 158. For those not familiar with quarterback ratings, let me just let you in a little bit. That is an incredible quarterback rating. Now, last week, 2 weeks ago against the Steelers, Fulgham had a breakout. Multiple targets, 10 catches, 150 some yards, touchdown. It was just an incredible game. Last week, if you watch the game the Eagles were playing against a very, very good Raven defense, probably, if not the best, one of the best defenses in the NFL, in the first half, it looked like Ertz was dropping off or getting the ball dropped off to him from Wentz, and there wasn't a lot of throws going to Travis Fulgham. Later in the game, the Eagles were way down. Wentz started going back to picking up, throwing the ball to Fulgham. And so I see that even more this week because if you haven't heard, Zach Ertz is out 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. He's not there for Wentz to drop the ball off to. Wentz has said, let me read this to you. I was doing a little research this morning. Carson Wentz has said he's a gamer, he's a baller. And I was reading on Twitter this morning a tweet by Scott Pianowski, and it says, Travis Fulgham sure looks legit to me. Fulgham has flashed 3 straight games. Carson Wentz not only trusts him, he needs him. And there's the key. He is needed in this offense. And I don't know how they're going to defend that tonight. The Giant defense is not that bad. But I do know this. I do know that we're going to see a lot of throws, I believe, going to Fulgham. I think he's going to get double-digit targets again. I look for the Eagles to win the game. And what we've got here is a budding superstar. You know, if he has another 10, 15, 20-point fantasy night, he's been in double digits the last 2 weeks, that would be 3 weeks in a row for Fulgham. And I think he's someone that is probably not only someone you should roster, someone you should start every week going forward until further notice. Other news. Who has the most targets in the slot in the NFL this season? I'm going to give it to you. Coming in at third place here, Jamison Crowder for the Jets. And the Jets, as bad as they are and as fantasy irrelevant as many of their players can be, Jamison Crowder is that one New York Jet that if he would be available or he's on your team, he's worthy of starting in weekly fantasy, maybe even DFS, depending on your matchups and who's on bye. But Jamison Crowder with 34 target slots comes in third. Who comes in second? Tyler Boyd, Cincinnati Bengal great, 41. Now we're through 6 weeks, 6 games most teams have played. So he's averaging right at 7 targets a game. But the number one slot receiver this year in the NFL is Dallas Cowboy rookie CeeDee Lamb, who not only leads the NFL in slot receiver targets, he's fastly becoming the Cowboys' number one target, period. Now, Dak Prescott going down a couple of weeks ago. And if you watched the game last week and you saw how horrendous Dallas's offense looked, now they've had 2 full weeks to prepare for this coming weekend against the Washington football team. And I just believe Dallas will come up with something. And what makes the most sense is not to drop back in the pocket and try to sit back there, is to get the ball and release it 2 to 3 seconds tops. And that means to me more action, more targets for that slot receiver, CeeDee Lamb. So I don't look for Lamb to suffer that much. If you noticed last week, even in a week where Dallas was not doing well at all, CeeDee Lamb scored over 10 fantasy points. Dallas, they have the weapons. And look, let's face it, their quarterback, I mean, here's how I look at it. Andy Dalton, He was a starter. He had games with Cincinnati with a lot less weapons than he has in Dallas, where he threw for 300 yards and touchdowns. The thing about Andy Dalton, he's going to have bad weeks. He's going to have bad games. But here's the but. He's also going to have great games. He's going to have games where he really comes out and looks like $1 million. Now, Washington has a really good defense, a great defensive line. I think the problem Dallas is going to have this week with Washington is the Dallas offensive line, as it stands right now, looks like it could be all second stringers. That's not good protection for Dalton. That's not going to help Zeke Elliott in the running game, but it will help those drop-off quick passes across the middle to your slot receiver, and CeeDee Lamb is that person. So I'll look for CeeDee Lamb to continue to put up the numbers. Another little tidbit of facts here. The highest graded rookie and second-year receivers, number one, Justin Jefferson at 90.8 for Minnesota. Number two, Travis Fulgham, 90.3. Number three, Pittsburgh Steelers, soon to be great, Chase Claypool, 83.6. Washington football team player Terry McLaurin, 79.4, and Tennessee Titan A.J. Brown at 78.0. I use these five to illustrate these two receivers I'm talking about this morning, Travis Fulgham and CeeDee Lamb, two players who coming into the season, one was a rookie and one was an afterthought. Now they are prominently, if not the number one, the 1A receivers on their respective teams. And let's face it, in that NFC East, there are probably going to be a lot of passes thrown because you're going to have teams who are behind. And in fantasy, I'll take the junk points just as much as I take the go-ahead points. They all count the same. Just a little thought this morning on two receivers that you might want to think about. Now, here's the third one. I don't know if you saw the news yesterday. I play in Yahoo League, and there was a particular receiver who was picked up by almost 400,000. That's right, 400,000 owners yesterday alone. This player's name is Antonio Brown, former All-Pro for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who's been drifting out there in the wilderness, awaiting for a call. His 8-week suspension, ends week 8. Well, week 8 is soon, 12 days. And there's been interest. Hence, he's been picked up in so many fantasy leagues. And the number one suitor right now is the Seattle Seahawks and NC State great Russell Wilson. One of the most prolific offenses in the NFL, and they're thinking about adding a weapon, a true weapon named Antonio Brown. Again, picked up in Yahoo Fantasy Leagues just yesterday alone, over 400,000 teams. Wow. If he's available and you have a roster spot, maybe you're holding on to some backup running back, drop him. It's worth the gamble. That's the thing, and I play fantasy football a lot. If you don't go out there and take that risk, one player, let's say Antonio Brown, you take a risk and you drop a second string running back, okay, who may never play. Think about what AB can do for you on your fantasy team if he is AB. He's a multi-target a game player. If he goes to Seattle, Russell Wilson is lighting it up this year. If you're a Russell Wilson owner in your fantasy league, you have got to go out and pick him up. It's worth the gamble. It's worth the risk. AB back possibly in 2 weeks. And now if you wait another week, you won't get him. He'll be gone in your league. This is the week to pick up Antonio Brown. There you go. 15 minutes is really all I've got today. I've got to get out of here. I've got a meeting at 10:30 Eastern time. I'm so glad the chat room joined me this morning. Lenny, you do it. I want to thank him. Lenny understands my schedule. You guys watching and listening, I believe, understand my schedule as well. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy being with you 3 days a week. Thank you. Those watching on StreamYard, I appreciate it. Nicole, it's great to hear from you this morning. I'll send you a message. How about that? And I'll be talking to you again on Monday right here on Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports.